It's a what?
Yeah.
We're the Towson University.
Okay.
Gotcha.
We just got finished recording with the commentary track.
Okay. So I don't know if you heard, but yeah, just earlier we just finished like a commentary on we reviewed or do like a commentary on like Coraline.
Oh, nice.
All right. So yeah, tell us about a little bit about your history of like when you started working on the show Clone High, or how did you get into that?
Yeah, sure. Where do I start? I guess it's like a multi-year process. So I've always loved animation growing up when I was younger. I was like a big Cartoon Network kid, Nickelodeon as well, SpongeBob, Ed and Eddie, Grim Adventures. I just love the storytelling happening, and just how creative you can get with those ideas. And so, at first, I originally went to undergrad. I went to UNC Greensboro, North Carolina for a psychology degree. Uh, Figured out I did not want to do psychology in my last semester of senior year, which is probably not the greatest time to make a career change, but it just didn't feel right. At the very last second, I applied to a master's screenwriting program at UNC School of the Arts. Uh, Got accepted, did the whole interview, and I went straight into it. I didn't take a gap year. And so for those 2 years is where I really found out I really enjoy writing comedy. I was terrified of it at first. I usually started with drama, but my mentor said you keep putting jokes into these really serious scenes. I think you should, give it a try. Like, why not? It's one of the scariest things ever, but I came out with some pretty great comedy and animated samples and moved to LA on an internship for literary management. Shortly after, I became a studio page at Paramount, and that's basically just like an assistant grooming program where basically they have you working with executives, gives you you're supposed to give tours to people who pay, who come onto the studio lot. And my time was cut short because of COVID. I was only in the program for 6 months, so once we were able to start making TV again, I worked on a few live action sets, and people kept asking me, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Oh, animation would be the dream." I love shows like BoJack Horseman and Rick and Morty, and um, anything that could help out. And they were like, "Oh, cool. I know nothing about animation, so I wish you the best of luck." Uh, and the stars kind of aligned where the PA that I worked with on my first show, she started seeing someone, they started dating and they worked in animation as well. I told them, let's get coffee. I'd love to, pick your brain for a little bit. And she actually helped me get the interview to go to Shadow Machine. That's an animation studio based in West Los Angeles, who also made BoJack Horseman. So that freaked me out too, because half my team on Clone High were some of the development team for BoJack Horseman. So that was a dream. I started as a PA for that show all the way back in, oh my God, August 2021. The very, very early stages. The scripts weren't even finished. There were no storyboards yet. And I was on that team until about July of last year. And we worked on 2 seasons at once, season two and season three, or as Max has put it, the season one and season two of the reboot. Um, let's see, am I forgetting anything? No, yeah, that's pretty much how I got into animation. I think I kind of fell into it by accident, but I was also, very passionate about it and talking to people all the time that this is what I want to do, asking questions, how do I get into this? And now I'm on a new project after Clone High wrapped. It's a series being produced by Kevin Hart that will come out eventually. we don't know the release date yet, but we're pretty deep into production so far. So that's been a lot of fun, and it's also at Shadow Machines, so they're my favorite company. Hoping to stay with them for many projects to come.
Awesome. Are we allowed to know the name of the title of the project yet?
Not yet, but it's produced and starring Kevin Hart, and yeah, I think that's all I'm allowed to say under NDA.
That's awesome. Very exciting. Yeah. So, does anybody have any?
Sure.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got a cool shirt. Where'd you get it from?
You said that's a cool shirt. Oh, this Invincible shirt. I have no idea. My dad got it for me for Christmas, so I gotta I gotta ask him. My dad and I are pretty big fans of the show. We've read all the comics before, so I'm super excited to see all of it adapted for the screen.
You watched the new episode today?
What was that?
New episode.
The finale, the newest one? Oh yeah, I stayed up until midnight for that one. One of the perks of living on the West Coast is that things kind of premiere earlier for us. So I'm like, yeah, I have to see this the night it happens. This show's crazy. It's just each season's gonna get crazier and crazier. So if you guys haven't checked it out, it's gonna become your new favorite show. Like, it's gonna make really big splash.
Yeah, but I'm not planning.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'd love to. It sounds great.
Highly recommend it. I do want to warn, it's a very gory show, and each season's going to get gorier. So if blood's not your thing, don't check it out. But otherwise, I think it's some of the best storytelling and voice acting we're seeing in animation currently. It's really good.
Yeah, I've seen
Good,
the
right.
boys.
I mean, both are good.
Boys is fun too. I wouldn't say one is like better than the other. They're both great, like for very different reasons. Two very different styles of storytelling, but I love what they're doing with the superhero genre.
Voice is just bombastic. It's just wild.
The boys has like very good like core.
Oh yeah. They I remember the first time I watched the pilot for The Boys, and like that very bloody thing that happens in the first 5 minutes was like, what am I about to watch? And it was pretty much the same thing for Invincible when the way the first episode ends. So those are like my two favorite shows right now. I really grew up loving superheroes, and I was on the Marvel train since I saw every Marvel movie in theaters since Iron Man when I was 12, and I love what they've done with that franchise. But it's really exciting to see these new kind of styles of superhero properties being adapted, especially for The Boys, because I personally don't think The Boys comic is that good, but the show is significantly better. It's an improvement in every single way.
What's your favorite superhero from Marvel and DC, respectively?
Respectively, unfortunately, I'm kind of basic here. For Marvel, it is Spider-Man. I've always been a Spider-Man guy. Just anything Spider-Man related. I just replayed Spider-Man 2 when they did New Game Plus, because just enjoy that story, man. Enjoy that world.
But I do love Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's just great. And even getting to work with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, I got to see some early Across and Beyond the Spider-Verse stuff, and it's like I love that these characters can continue to like tell these stories and enter the mainstream media. DC, on the other hand, I wasn't really a DC guy growing up, but I really do enjoy the Superman and Booster Gold stories. Those are a lot of fun. Superman, I kind of prefer like I know Man of Steel happened, and I actually do appreciate what they tried to do, like a different version of that character, but I love a good classic, just a go lucky, naive guy that loves saving people. And then Booster Gold being like a fake hero that falls into it is also really funny. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What Superman are we talking about here again?
Uh, so this is where I struggle a bit because I know there's like different versions and like, well, at least in Marvel, there's like different timelines and versions. Um, when it comes to Superman, for me, the one from the animated series pops into my head. Uh, the old Cartoon Network, like Justice League one, and his own show as well. That's probably my favorite version of Superman.
Talk about Spider-Man. Have you seen the Spider-Man fan film, Green Goblin's Last Stand?
I That sounds familiar. I don't think I've seen it. I'm thinking of like a meme for some reason when I try to think of that movie. The only other one I've heard of was Spider-Man Lotus, but I don't think I've seen the Green Goblin one.
Yeah, it recently became a meme because of the "You Took My Swag" clip.
That's what I okay, yeah. Maybe that's where I heard it from. That line sounds familiar. Yeah.
Well, you speak loud enough, he can't hear you.
If you can hear me, then he can definitely hear you.
Yeah, just like speak loud enough, you get a question.
Have you ever thought of like making your own animated show?
Oh, absolutely. My thesis script while I was in grad school is actually my most popular writing sample. It actually allowed me to do some writer's assistant stuff on Clone High. After a few months, I got to pitch some jokes during the voice records and take comedy notes during our edit sessions. But I would totally love to show run my own series. There's one where the typical formula you see in these animated sitcoms is like the nuclear family, middle-aged dad, middle-aged mom. The mom is always more attractive than the dad, and there's like two and a half kids or three of them. That's pretty much every Fox animated sitcom. And even Netflix too, they do their own spin on it. Like Big Mouth has so many characters, but there's still like nuclear families. And so it's a formula that I like, but I think it's in need of modernization of the millennial and Gen Z experience. So my sitcom idea would be about two parents who had a whoopsie baby by accident in their mid 20s and they're completely broke and do not know what it's like to be a parent. Um, and a black family at that, because there's also not a lot of animated black animated series out there. So something that looks distinct, stands out from the crowd. I know Fox did the Cleveland show, but it was still that same, two and a half kids and like rural environment.
I can name other examples of black animated TV shows: Static Shock, The PJs, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur,
Oh yeah,
The Proud Family,
absolutely.
the Boondocks.
And then for every example you listed, there's
Yeah.
almost like 20 to 25 other shows that kind of like stack that out. So um anything that just have it's not even necessarily just saying more black shows, because what does that even mean? But it's more like I would like to either see myself reflected or have these the stories that I want to tell kind of be relatable to like a uniform experience. So hopefully one day, I've gotten some great connections through working on these animated projects. A lot of veterans who have given me great advice, both from like Phil Lord and like our editorial staff. Yeah,
Black
hopefully,
Panther.
fingers crossed, one day.
Bill, on that question, what about feature animation? You think you would want to do a feature length piece?
I would personally be open to it. I think making a movie is, well, first of all, making anything in Hollywood is extremely difficult. And the projects that are good were usually the hardest to make. And with features, especially, it's like a different kind of hard that my brain is just not accustomed to. It's you're with the same story and in the same world, and you want to make sure everything concludes by the time you reach credits. But how long should that story take? I personally find more comfort in a TV show because there's so many opportunities for us to try different ideas throughout the lifespan of a show. But for a feature, I would totally be open to it. I've even had some animated feature ideas, both that are kind of like family oriented and maybe more on the mature side. And I've heard murmurs of projects that are going to try to aim for more mature themes. So we'll see. But me personally, I would totally do it. I'm also not experienced in it.
Question.
Mhm.
Going
I might have to speak up a little bit.
So with working with Clone High on Max, what do you think is your best episodes?
What do I think of the best episodes I've worked on?
What do you think is your best?
Let's see. And just to make sure I'm following, so like the best episode, like my favorite experiences, like kind of making the episode, or like what do I personally find the best?
That you worked on, like, what was your best experience that you contributed to the episode?
Uh, sorry, it's like it's been so many years. I'm going through a file cabinet in my brain. Because they're all just kind of blending together now. So I remember there was one example in the seventh episode of the second season, when the clones go to the Arroyo Fest. Um, the episode had been fully animated at that point, and now we're in the comp stage where we're adding special effects on top of the animation. And one of those effects is, excuse me, Confucius. He's doing a live stream on Flip Flop, their version of TikTok. And he's not like a super popular internet personality. So there's like a live stream chat happening on the side. And that stuff wasn't written in the script. So the supervising director, she knows that I wanted to write. She came to me saying, hey, would you have like any ideas of like things, you're young. You probably watch TikTok. Could you like mimic some comments that you've seen? I sent them like 50 variations of like different comments we could put on there. And every comment that ended up making to final picture was something that I wrote. Um, so I felt gratifying in the sense that like, oh, they actually, like the stuff that I wrote. Um, there's another instance where uh, it's a very open collaborative team. So like during the actual voice records, they're open to suggestions or like different character jokes. And at a certain point, I would speak up and kind of go like, "Oh, I feel like we're kind of missing a joke here." Like in season 3, episode 2, there's like a snorkeling competition. They have to like point out fish. And there's a money competition, and Confucius himself is a super rich clone, super wealthy. Um, and when he was recording his reaction to the cash prize, I kind of went, well, isn't he like a millionaire? Would he even care about like winning $10,000? And Chris Miller and the showrunner are like, oh, that's actually like a good observation. Can we like alter that line or something? Um, so in that moment, it's like, oh, it's like nice to feel heard. Like I'm just the assistant, and I know I have like no creative control over this, but it's nice to have my creative contributions kind of like be considered, um, to hopefully make the final product better. Um, my favorite episode, just in general, from everything that went into it, was probably it's probably between the season 3 premiere and then season 3 episode 5, because both of those episodes contain the most graphic things I think we've animated. Like the season 3 premiere has like an eye sex scene, uh and that was boarded by the guy who directed that episode was from South Park. So we always knew it was his episode because he always included something messed up in it like that. um and then in the 5th episode, when we bring Skunky Poo back from the original season, um there's like a really brief section of her and Scudworth, doing the nasty in the bed, and we were like, why would he ever do that with a skunk? And I don't remember what the director said, but we kept it in. And I wish I had more like the show was kind of developed under atypical circumstances because it was developed during a pandemic. So we were just like on my setup right now, we were completely remote, not a whole lot of time to like interact with each other in the office, but um, we all came together for the rap party, and that's probably my favorite moment from the entire show. have everyone in the same room kind of laughing and enjoying all the hard work that we put into it.
Out of all the different animation styles, that being like Flash, 2D, 3D, cell, or traditional, which animation style do you prefer, or which one would you wish to work on?
I think I'm a 2D guy, whether that's done in Flash or Harmony. I always just prefer the 2D style. There's kind of a not saying 3D animation doesn't have body nuance, but there's something there's just this hidden magic about 2D animation that just works so well for me, whether it's the classic hand drawn stuff from like Disney back in the day or what we do now. Like Bluey did a quick cutaway in their episode where they showed like the puppet rigging process for how they animate their show. Uh, and I would personally want to do 2D as well. I wish I had a better explanation for that. It's just um, all of my favorite animated shows or movies that I've watched have always been 2D. And that's not to say I dismiss or scoff at 3D. I think 3D is great and can be used very smart. Like Across the Spider-Verse is a 3D movie that looks 2D. And the techniques they do to make it look like it's it's overlaid over a comic strip is great, or how like the Lego movie is a computer animated movie, but the frame rate's slower to make it look like a stop motion. Like those techniques are great, and we need to keep 3D animation around for that. I'm always going to prefer a flat 2D style though. A lot of more creative choices for angles and camera work. I think there's just more pride when you put in the effort for it.
You don't see
What's up?
that 2D animation. You don't see it in like theaters.
I know. It sucks. I wish there was more 2D in theaters. I saw the Bob's Burgers movie in theaters last year only because it was like a 2D movie, and a part of me was like, I just wish we got more of it. It definitely takes longer than 3D for sure, but my personal philosophy is it takes longer, but it's timeless. 3D is quicker, looks better, but I think it ages faster. I have a nephew. He's like 5 now, and he was trying to put movies for him on the TV. When I brought up How to Train Your Dragon, he thought that he didn't want to watch it because he thought the movie looked old, which made me feel bad because I'm like, oh my, what? I still think this movie looks great, but it is a 10-year-old movie now. And I remember when I was a kid, if a movie looked old, I kind of, didn't really want to check it out. 2D, he doesn't make that comment for the old 2D Disney movies. So hopefully it returns. I have heard murmurs that Disney's going back to exploring 2D features. We probably won't see that until
Yeah,
like the second half of this decade.
they have like this like Tiana spin-off thing that's supposed
Yeah, that's and see that's still like a series, I think. It's which is great. I would love a classic 2D style show, but need more features too.
oh, another question for
Yeah.
I guess for your writing techniques for comedy, do you explore like improvisations depending on what scene you're working on? Do you like improvise or like at the beginning, or does it come like later on and you have like a formulated script for what the character?
It's a great question actually, because you're going to get a different answer depending on who you ask. Um, from my personal experience with writing comedy scripts, uh, I personally focus on the scene and the objectives of the characters first, and like what's the goal? What are they trying to do by the time the scene concludes? And that requires, putting them in uncomfortable situations, difficult circumstances. Your character should not be having a good time in a comedy. And if you can think of, I mean, it's a basic example, but when I think about shows like The Office, every single scene in an episode of that show is about putting a character through the worst possible version of that situation. And that's where you kind of pull the comedy from there, how that character reacts to it. Uh, and that's usually the standard writing way I've seen on the shows that I've worked on. You outline the scenes first, you try to figure out what's going to happen, and then it's kind of through the collaboration of the writers' room pitching different jokes for different moments in the script. Um, and these scripts go through multiple drafts. No one ever gets it right on the first try. And if anyone who claims otherwise, that they wrote a script on the first, like a perfect script on the first try, they're lying to you, and I guarantee you it's bad, because you do have to, like, you might put a joke in there and it's like, oh yeah, that was funny because it was like an inside joke between us and the writers, but does this actually work to someone who has no idea what this show is about? Other times you have people who, I know someone who used to work like in the Family Guy writers room, and like their job is comedy first and story second. Let's come up with like as many cutaway gags, like how much stupid stuff can we fit into this episode, and they kind of like weave a story around it. And there's nothing wrong with that storytelling style either. I grew up watching a lot of Family Guy and Adult Swim. It's still one of my favorite comfort shows. And they're still able to achieve, the success that they do, even though they use a method that I personally wouldn't do.
That
And
method is
sometimes, oh yeah,
that method is also seen in shows like Brickleberry and Paradise PD.
yeah, where it's just joke after joke after joke after joke. We'll figure out the story later, and they do figure out the story later. I don't want that to come off as like it's an afterthought to them, but how could they see it as comedy is you have to make people laugh first, and then string along the story second.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any advice for people who wanted to get into writing or becoming a production assistant in the beginning?
Yeah. Well, here's my first piece of broad advice. Um, Nothing about this industry is easy. It will never be easy. I moved here in 2019, so I'm coming up on my. Sorry, it's the end of the day. My brain's shutting off. I'm coming up on my 5th year here in LA, and not once have I thought to myself it's gotten easier. It is a grind. It is a constant kind of pursuit of both improving your own craft and trying to stay employed. Uh, and that is mentally taxing. And you need to decide if that is something you're willing to do, if you love it that much. Um, I would not be here in this position. It even feels weird talking to you guys in this position, because like I don't feel like I've, like, who am I? It's like I can't believe people look up to me now for advice, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I still don't have the answers to everything. Um, but that's like the first bit of advice I would give. That's hard. There's a reason people drop out and quit, or they don't even pursue it because they assume that they're going to fail. And I think if you are really serious about writing or working in production or working in animation, if you're scared of failing, you're gonna it's best to find out if you are gonna fail, because I could not imagine if 5 years had passed and I'm just wondering, oh man, after school, what if I did move out to LA? Like, what if I did take that shot? I'm a big guy who, I'm just not big on regrets. I would rather find out and get an answer. Um, the second piece of advice that I would give is, if writing is something you're interested in, you need to be constantly doing it, like all the time. Uh, and that takes different forms, whether that's you're in class or you're like at dinner or something, you're at the gym and you have like a joke pop into your head or like a scene idea in your head. Stop what you're doing, take out your phone, go into your notes app and just write it down, provide some context. and then later go and workshop that scene, mess with the dialogue, etc. Um, if you're writing scripts, whether it's a pilot or it's a feature, write it, get feedback on it from people that you trust and people whose opinions you value, and then write another script. You just keep writing more scripts. It keeps you sharp. Uh, it helps you kind of be fluid when it comes to mimicking other people's voices. And I would even recommend writing a spec of a show that you love. When I was in grad school, I wrote an episode of Rick and Morty, to kind of practice with the voices of the characters and how can I tell a story in this world. So I really ruined that show for myself. I studied Dan Harmon's Story Circle. I rewatched, oh my God, I think there was only 2 seasons out when I was doing this. So I was just rewatching and rewatching. And then I ended up writing an episode, which is probably kind of dated by now, but it was basically Rick and Morty kind of get stuck on this battle royale island, similar to the Hunger Games episode, but this is more of a parody of, or not the Hunger Games. They have a parody of the Purge movies, and this was kind of a parody on the Hunger Games and like Warzone and Fortnite and like the things that you kind of see in Battle Royale. Um, and then the side story was about Jerry getting shrunken down to the size of an ant, and he finds himself becoming the king of an ant colony. Um, and the most consistent feedback I got on it was that this feels like an episode they've watched before. Like they feel like they could have seen this on TV. And if that's the compliment that you get, that it feels like a regular episode of the show, you're already doing great things. And then you write another script and you keep going. Um, if you want to work in production, this is kind of the more like loaded question because everyone's circumstance is different. Um, like if you want to work in TV production, I wouldn't say it's required to live in Los Angeles, but you know, um, there's just more TV opportunities here. Um, and that's where you kind of meet new people, get these connections, they help you get jobs, etc. You can even reach out to people through like job boards, LinkedIn, etc. Cold email people, whether you look them up on IMDb or any other database that can help you get, connected with people to get you jobs. Uh, it's all kind of like a game at the end of the day. It's like 33% luck, 33% skill, and 33% the people that you know. And it's a constant balancing game of like, how can I make the stars align to really, make it happen? And the best way to do it is to just go where the stuff is made, whether that's Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta, Chicago. Um, for animation specifically, I think that kind of depends. It could be LA, it could be Canada, it could be Chicago as well. I know they have great art institutions there as well. Um, you really have to step out of your comfort zone to really pursue a career like this. So whether it's writing, production, animation, etc., um, just you keep working on yourself, you keep working on your craft, and it's very cliche to say, but you really do have to be yourself, because you want to work with people who are like you. I've yet to work on a show where anyone was bad or awful or like, oh my God, this dude needs to be canceled or fired or whatever. Um, but you do attract the people with the same passions as you. And even when I was working live action, I just kept saying I wanted to do animation, and it eventually manifested itself into me finally bumping into the right person. So yeah, if I had to shorthand that, work on yourself, work on your craft. Do not be afraid to socialize and reach out to people for help and opportunities, and work on your craft again. Just keep getting better and keep improving.
Are you in any commit? I recently have got involved with the Animation Guild Educators Committee.
Mm-hmm.
So are you
Sorry, say that first part again, actually.
part of any committees, like peers committee?
Oh, am I part of any committees? I actually recently joined the Animation Guild. I finally met the credits to do that. Uh, I did it through a very Well, you know what? Long story short, I helped unionize Shadow Machine. Their artists were under the Animation Guild, but the production workers weren't. Um, and I won't get into the nitty gritty of those details, but basically, me and a few of us were like, "Hey, let's try to like join the union. Like, I feel like we're just as valuable as the artist creating the product, and we keep the whole pipeline going." And it was very easy to do when the whole office is a bunch of 20 somethings. It's like, yeah, of course we want better pay and insurance and working conditions. We faced very little resistance, and so Shadow Machine is part of the guild, and therefore I got to join the guild for free. Um, I just got my union card in the mail yesterday after like 2 months, so I have that little IATSE symbol on it now. Um, yeah, it it gets me a lot of cool benefits. Like for example, I had to go to urgent care yesterday because I had a really bad cough, and they prescribed me medicine and it only cost me $5. And I love that as an adult because insurance is still scary to me. Uh, so yeah, I hope to stay in that guild. I would also like to join the WGA eventually to have dual membership. Um, so yeah, I'm new to it. I wish I had more information to like share about my experience in the guild so far, but uh, I just got here, so I'm figuring it out myself.
That's awesome. Right. Does anybody else have any questions? Hold on. I don't know how much time we have with you, so just let us know
Let's see. It's 6:49. I'd say probably like 10 or 15 minutes because I'm getting drinks with some people soon, so I got to walk my dog and you know get that situated. But yeah, anything we can squeeze in 10 minutes.
Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. You can find me just my name, basically, Michael Culbertson. I have hair in the picture, so I might look different. I just shaved my head recently. But yeah, if you want to look me up on LinkedIn, see what I've been a part of, you're more than welcome to.
I'm leaving. Hold on. I have to go now. So pleasure to talk with you and bye.
Yeah, no problem, man. You have a good night.
All right, see you later. See you later.
The standard stuff, like you might left anything behind.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So yeah, maybe time for like one really good question or like two smaller questions. I don't think
Who's your
mostly anything's off limits.
question? Who's your favorite character?
Like who's my favorite character ever?
Ever?
Oh, ever. That's a wow. Can I give you two answers for different reasons? Uh, in terms of my favorite character, in terms of writing and storytelling, and just how complete their arc feels, probably Kratos from the God of War games. Um, I don't know if any of you guys play games at all, but these new God of War games and like Ragnarok are fantastic.
We definitely like Ragnarok is my favorite storytelling game ever.
Yeah, it the way that story comes together and pays off, and this redemption that he gets that he thought he did not deserve throughout all of the games, and just for that has to be the greatest character growth I've seen across any media. Like Kratos gets my flowers for that. In terms of like my own personal selfishness, probably, you know what? It's a tie between Mark Grayson from Invincible for reasons you'll see later, and Now it's a four-way tie. No, I'm gonna keep it simple. It's either Mark Grayson as Invincible or truthfully, I really love SpongeBob. Like I really love him as a character. He's that classic Looney Tunes archetype. I know he's annoying, and the older I've gotten, I'm like, wow, SpongeBob's like really insufferable to be around. But like he's just such a little guy, you know. He's just innocent. I mean, I'm drinking out of a SpongeBob cup right now. Like he's just that guy. He's just cute. I don't know.
I like to think of SpongeBob as inspired by characters like Woody Woodpecker and the Animaniacs, that are created,
Animaniacs, especially. Yeah.
that are created to annoy the other characters on purpose.
And that goes back to what I was saying with comedy, that you have to put them in situations they don't like. And that's why SpongeBob's antics towards Squidward was funny to us when we were younger, because why would we ever be that bitter? And then here I am, 27 now, just like, oh, I kind of get it.
Yeah, I think that's based on Mr. I think that's based on Mr. Wilson and Dennis the Menace too.
Oh, well. I'm sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dennis the Menace. I Dennis the Menace and like SpongeBob and like what were other ones? Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. They all have a character that, as an adult, just really, really irks me. But you know that's the intention, and the adults who make those shows know that too. Like my least favorite character is Blue from Foster's Home, because he's just not a good guy. He's not a great person.
My least favorite character is Terrence from that show.
Terrence from which one?
Oh, Terrence, Mac's big older brother that bullies him.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. That's unlocking memories I completely forgot about. Any other, like, I guess one more question, one or two wouldn't hurt.
I guess, well, maybe not everybody is fully aware of the job title of a production assistant, because some people think it's like the guy that gets the coffee, but not more than that. Like you can give us like a general of what you did as a production assistant before becoming a writer, or kind of like.
Yeah. Let's see. I would say, so a production assistant is such a vague title. So vague, in fact, that no show trains you how to be a production assistant. You're quite literally just, they see your resume, and if it makes you look competent on paper, they're like, all right, yeah, we'll bring you on. It's very entry level, and it varies from show to show, and it's also very different between live action and animation. If you do live action, a production assistant is basically, well, if you're the office PA, you're keeping the office stocked with like paper and like all the supplies that the writers need. You probably take lunch orders, you go and pick up the food or have it delivered, disperse it. Just any general building needs. It's super laid back. I used to just listen to music all the time and talk with the other PAs. If you're a set PA, you're just kind of making sure the actors get to where they need to get to go, making sure everyone's staying on schedule, which never happens, but you try your best to do it. Coffee runs, etc. In animation, I find myself more as kind of like an IT guy, but also, it's like I'm either helping troubleshoot things, or I'm doing like asset file collections on ShotGrid, or it's called flow tracking now as of like yesterday. Helping create Photoshop templates to make character charts, taking notes during voice records. In animation, especially, the production assistant is the one that interacts with the celebrities the most, because you have to get them into the building and make sure they're good to go. That's probably my favorite part of the job, because every actor knows that the PA is like the big starry-eyed, I'm just getting my start, so they're very, very kind to you. It varies day to day, and the best thing you can do as a PA is to kind of have forward thinking. You kind of have to like anticipate needs, which is very easy for me because I have anxiety. So I'm always thinking of like what's going to go wrong and how can I prevent it from happening. Or just having kind of like a, when I say pleasant attitude, I don't mean you have to like kiss ass or anything like that, but just like you're agreeable, you're open to things. You have respect for yourself, and you kind of give off this energy that you really want to learn and improve and climb up the ladder. So it all depends, but the general things are just kind of you assist whatever the production needs, and those needs change every single day. I've had boring days where, oh, nothing's happening, so I'm just gonna go. I work from home, so I'm just gonna play like Helldivers or like Overwatch or something. And then other days, it's like I'm driving across the city because one of our actors' car broke down, and I'm trying to figure out how to get them there. And I'm just gonna suggest that I'm gonna do this, and I'm just drenched in sweat from how nervous I am. So just going with a open personality, be ready to embrace anything new, and that's all it really takes to be a PA. You just expect the unexpected. I'm trying to cherish the time that I've had as a PA because you do get more work the more you go up the ladder, but it preps you for the job that you actually want eventually, whether that's writer, producer, director, etc.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So thank you very much for giving us your time then.
of course. Yeah, no, I'm glad I can make this happen. I'm technically still working right now, but they've been pinging me in the background. They'll be fine. It's the weekend. We don't care. I'm union, so I can tell them I can ignore it now. But yeah, no, I'm glad I could carve out time for this. Murat, thanks for reaching out and organizing this. And if you ever need anything like this again, let me know. You have my contact information.
Real quick, did you guys want to just do like a photo in front of the projector? Yeah. Okay, we'll just do like a quick photo of just like everybody in front of.
Sure. Why not?
I need the photo.
Of everybody on the Zoom? A photo of everybody
Yeah,
on
I think so. Yeah. Excuse me.
The big check. That way, otherwise everybody would just be crowding in front of like the small chamber. Don't worry, Jules, we do see you in the top. Yes. So, okay. Like, Jules, do the, you might need a mute yourself or something, or.
Do a what?
Oh, okay.
Michael, you talk, cause like the Zoom kind of jumps, so like.
Oh, I got you. I'll just cool.
All right.
Sweet.
All right, thank you very much.
No problem. You guys enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You too as well. Take care.
Yeah, around. Yeah.
No, it's about DDR.
Yeah,
Oh,
I did an 877, and then I did